And we are back. It is Thursday, February the 6th, 2025. Good morning. We are your perfect day starter. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
Indeed, we're back and better than ever. Welcome once again to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Thank you so much for always joining us right here on the program. Guys, what's up?
Let's start off on a cheery note. Is there something that you really want today? I was thinking about it. If there's something that you're looking forward to, that you desire so much, so you could put that thing down or just keep it in mind and then do what? Do something similar for someone. If you're expecting something, obviously a lot more people are expecting things lesser than that. So be the blessing for people, right? Don't just expect. So if you're expecting money, right? If you're expecting 10 million naira, how about you give 1,000 naira to someone? If you're expecting a car, get this, don't give a toy car to someone. Give a lift or just pay for someone's transport. I think for too long we've received or at least expected without giving as much. And I think it's just a normal law of life. You have to give to receive. You have to plant to harvest.
We'll give, but not to the government. The government is collecting too much from us.
No, you have to pay taxes.
No, that's given. I pay my taxes.
So what else are you giving? Okay, votes maybe.
My commitment to the country, my being responsible to myself,
so you give it to
my family, and my community. That's exactly what I'm doing.
So what are you
but
giving to the government?
Is that what you're expecting in return?
No, I'm expecting for behaving myself and paying my taxes, government should do the rest.
They should behave themselves.
Yes, because it's in the Constitution. I like to look at the laws most of the time. So government has been taken from the citizens for far too long and keep promising to give back to the citizens, but consistently, most of the time, they fail and continue to fail. And the Bola Tinubu administration has been taking a lot from the citizens. From the twin policies of government in terms of the reforms, to the tariff hikes that we're seeing and the ones that are coming, and all the things we see in between, there's too much taken from the citizens. In fact, guys, I piggyback on that to say that I went to buy Asun. And I even realized that it has even affected my Asun. The package, the cover, they used to cover, you know, if you're an Asun person, the foil is silver, and then the one that touches the Asun is also silver. The top is white. Now it has turned brown like carton. And then there's this detergent. Yeah, I'm serious, man. Don't play with my Asun.
So, by the way, Asun is
it's either goat meat or cow beef.
Right. No, I don't do beef. I do
and cut in very little tiny bits.
That's what Jeffrey loves.
In fantastic sauce, by the way, for those
loves it.
outside Nigeria. In fantastic sauce.
I'm not done with my explainer.
You can combine it with jollof. You know, Nigerian jollof is now a global cuisine. It's not just a continental cuisine, and you can combine it with anything else. Maybe like very nice vegetable soup and.
Bukola, wait.
To define
should we bring
examples?
Should we bring stove and fire and give you something? Why are you cooking on the show this morning?
All of a sudden, come on.
So all I'm saying in essence is that I've even realized that some of the detergents you use at home for washing dishes, it no longer foams. So my suspicion in a bid for companies to cope with the difficulty, quality is dropping. I don't know whether you guys are noticing it. From Asun to detergent, at least the one I use and see and consume is concerned. That's why I'm saying, for the sacrifices citizens are making, including using substandard, let me not say low quality now, products, just to cope, because the government says it's going to get better. The government has to rise up and take care of its citizens. Governments have failed Nigerians too much. You take from us too much, and you give little in return. We don't know how long the people will continue to bear this. Anyway, guys.
Yeah, well, Jeffrey, I'm towing your path this morning. It has affected everything else, from Asun to petrol. A lot of us are spending nearly half of our salaries on petrol, to tires. If you want to change your tires now, and you want to buy brand new tires, you know what you'll be spending, to everything else, to a bag of rice, which is pushing past 100,000 naira, to beans. The other day I bought, groundnut oil. What used to go for 13,000 naira, believe it or not, is now 21,000 naira. And of course, to my very delightful bowl of parfait, what I used to get for 10,000 naira is now 21,000 naira. So that's what I'm going to be giving someone this morning, and I'm expecting 2 big bowls in return, and they've already gotten the message. So
we're eating lunch in Bukola's corner today.
Well, we just have to.
I'm sorry, guys.
Come on, we talked breakfast, we've talked lunch.
Jeffrey, you started with us, so I'm fine.
If there's crisis with us, some of us will have problems with this government.
We have to protest, right?
There's going to be problem.
Well, you know, these are some of the things in life that we take for granted.
You didn't tell us what you'll be giving someone, by the way.
By the way, right?
Yes.
The news. My presence, my time, my intellect, my love. There's so much to give.
Well, and that's just brilliant, and we hope that government rewards you in return.
Hopefully, but you know, we see some things happen, and it just buttresses the points you're making. We see some things happen, and you wonder, we should be better than this. I was having a conversation with one of the federal agencies was gutted by fire recently, and guess what? It was said that when the firefighters came, they did not have ladder to climb to where the fire was. They didn't have water. It was the organization that bought water for the firefighters to quench the fire. And before all that happened, the place was totally destroyed. And it's literally the same with the Zamfara school. A very sad one played out in Zamfara State, where we understand that 17 pupils of a Sangaya school were killed.
Marjorie students.
And that sad fire incident. By the way, firefighters came, but they couldn't combat it because it is said that they lacked the appropriate equipment. So these are some of the things we see as failures when it comes to government speech.
And according to report card, it is believed that the fire broke out in a nearby house on Tuesday night and spread to the school while the children were learning or something, and they're believed to be between ages 10 and 16. And you know, it's really sad. Yesterday we had a very important conversation with the head of the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, and suffice it to say that the Act 2022 that amended the establishment of the organization, you know, changed it from the Accident Investigation Bureau to the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, and by implication, every other safety parameter, so to speak, for want of better description now, has been included within the jurisdiction of the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, such that they can also provide the same intervention that they provide in the aviation sector to other sectors. So it's important to bring all of the institutions, you know, properly under the NSIB, so that the NSIB can provide the same interventions that we're seeing in the efficient running of, you know, the management of air mishaps in the other sectors as well, because we're seeing so many you know, accident concerns on our roads, even in train derailments in recent times. Just important to mention that as well.
Okay, so
this is squarely at the table of, you know, the emergency responders, the firefighters, and the rest. I mean, hearing the person in charge of the school saying that they came, but they didn't have functional equipment. It lives very much.
Sometimes no ladder, maybe no water. So why did you show up for photo ops? Anyway, Kaide, what do we do?
I think we just get right into what we have for you on the show.
Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil your mood.
Yeah, but it's the news. It's something that we should chew on. But again, we're talking about oil spill, guys. The recent oil spill in Ogale area of River State is our first port of call this morning. Well, the chairman of Element Local Government Area, as well as an environmental activist, will be joining us to highlight the implications of the incident, as well as to discuss safeguarding against future occurrences anywhere in the country. By the way, we have a detailed analysis of the recent oil spills in the country for you.
And besides that, with the official halting of funding by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, to countries around the world, set to take effect from tomorrow, we'll take a look at how the program has benefited Nigeria over the years and the implications of this new step by the Donald Trump administration.
From there, we'll go to safety. How should women protect themselves? They are seen as vulnerable but they have to be protected. But before help comes, what would you do and should you do as a woman? Our expert will be joining us to give us that tip right here on the program.
That's not all. We'll also be focusing on Nigeria's economy. Well, you can put in brackets Jeffrey's Asun as well, putting a spotlight on the prospects for the dairy industry, while also exploring how global trends affect government policies.
And we go over to the arts, as we do now and again, where Olufumilayo Opanubi Alasholui will be joining us to tell us how she mixes being a serial entrepreneur with her arts and crafts.
And finally, there will be a chat with Chilaka, an expressive classical singer. I love classical music.
So you'll understand.
I love it. So, we're going to hear from her. It's a rare thing to have them on the show. Yeah. We're going to enjoy it today on the program.
Absolutely. So something to calm your nerves. Yeah. That's what classical music does. By the way,
like make you think less about the implications of expensive asun.
Okay. So when Bukola says it's a bumper package, I agree with her today. It is a bumper package on the show. By the way, you can be a part of the show as always. Head over to WhatsApp or hashtag CTV Morning Brief. Yes, that is the number with which you can be a part of the show. We're starting off naturally with the front pages of the dailies. So let's get right into that. Have you gotten the WhatsApp number? Let's give you a moment to just soak it in. With the Guardian newspaper this morning, what are the dailies saying? Well, the Guardian is talking about security, but Southwest security, and you see 5 years on. I wish I had better news for you, but this is what it is. Poor funding, capacity hobble, Amotekun's mandate in Southwest. So there you have it. Poor funding, capacity hobble, Amotekun's mandate in Southwest. You have pictures of the governors in that region. 5 of them are right there on the front page, from Ekiti to Osun to Ogun to Ondo and Osun.
There's no Lagos.
That's what I was going to say.
What's going on there?
So it's always been said that Lagos has the neighborhood watch, right? That's Lagos's Amotekun.
Well, so, whatever it is, Amotekun is a product of a consensus of all governors, I believe, including the governor of Lagos State.
Yeah, he joined some of those meetings. Yeah, he was. Security meetings they had.
Yeah, he was there. And it reminds me of our own very beautiful program promos, where, you know, that young man says, "We've never seen much of Amotekun in this place."
So maybe this explains that.
So that explains it. And whatever happened to the development agenda for Western Nigeria, which is a product of the brainchild, you know, of some members of the All Progressives Congress, which was, you know, lofty, you know, to provide developmental intervention for the entire Southwest. And, you know, what is the quantum of funding that has been available to Southwest governors over the past 5 years that should have enabled them have capacity to bring ambitious development to the Southwest, one of which would be Southwest security. The other day, the governor of Oyo State, I believe, was talking about the infiltration of bandits into certain Oyo communities. So Amotekun should have been appropriately that outfit that should tackle this, because it's, you know, community-based, and they have the intelligence. That's the idea. Yeah.
Another story that will catch your fancy on the front page, 2 actually. One about PDP. PDP trustees move meeting to hotel over security concerns. So we understand that they may be backing Ude Okoye.
They are backing. They've, just like the governors, they are backing Ude Okoye. They're taking a position as an advisory body of the PDP.
But that's the thing. It's an advisory body. So it's how much water does this hold? is a big question. BOT is not a decision-making organ of the PDP. So, yes, they've said that they're backing Ude Okoye, but how far will this go? And finally, Dangote begins fuel export to Saudi Arabia, pushes capacity to 550,000 barrels per day. Bukola, I know you want to say a lot about this. I know
I'll leave it to Jeffrey.
but that's the Guardian newspaper for you.
I'll leave it to Jeffrey.
Okay, let's move on to the Blueprint newspaper, by the way. I don't want to comment on those. When I'm ready, I'll talk about Dangote and NNPCL. I'm watching them closely. There are certain things we want to see first. PDP scribe Boa, Anyanwu rather, kicks as BOT adopts Turaki report, recognizes Joe Okoye. Youth wing wants BOT sacks, scribe cautions rather. So it's been an ongoing war. So the PDP governors have taken a position. And now the advisory body, when you talk about board of trustees, technically in an organizational sense, they are like the owners of the party in an organizational sense. In
a corporate, not a political.
Yes, not a political, but this is an advice. So yeah. I think the wrangling is becoming unbearable. People have to just take a position. Whether that position is right or wrong, they have to square it. And they've insisted that next month, the neck must hold. Because the neck is where all of this can be resolved finally. And guess what? When the neck is called, it is still the NWC that is at war with itself that will be calling for that neck. That will set the agenda for that neck. So there's a lot of lacuna in terms of the law, but let's see how it plays out eventually. But PDP needs to be stable. It is not ideal for us not to have a stable opposition political party. Nobody should be excited that at least one, there are so many parties. I think there are about 19 of them. We need to have a stable opposition party, whether it's 1, 2, 3, whatever. They have to work their acts together. And now I understand Ned Nwoko has also officially defected. That's a controversial issue. Is there really division in the PDP in that sense?
The National Assembly yesterday.
Yes.
That horse has since left the stable. Yes. The horse has finished the race.
Yeah, we saw it coming since this was just an official thing. So, I can't wait for the Supreme Court to make maybe another decision as to the issue of defection. Perhaps we should just remove this defection from our constitution so that these politicians can be changing parties.
What's the definition of division?
that is subject to the interpretation of the Supreme Court. So
because is the PDP united as it is right now?
Now, division mostly when they define it in politics in Nigerian context is where there are two leaderships, two clear leadership at the national level. So if we stay by that, perhaps we can. There's wrangling and debate over who and what. But they wouldn't have two national chairmen.
It's funny how politics happens and then definitions are not clear-cut anymore. What you used to know is not just, you have to say this one is the leader of a group. Who is the chairman? No,
so look at what the ABC did. The ABC, when the conquest, I think Galadima at that time, they formed the reform. So if you want to cause a division, you form another arm of the party. But reformed APC, new PDP, all of those. So in clear-cut division,
compartmentalize the issues, Jeffrey and Coyote. The other time, the contention was over the offices of the acting national chairman and the publicity secretary, and that has since been settled. And then we're now again talking about the office of the national secretary. The PDP must make up its mind about what its direction is for the future. Already we're seeing defections of very key members of the party to the All Progressives Congress, and that's not the last. Many more, will happen. And that's why we must emphasize that, it doesn't hold water when they continue to say that certain members of the All Progressives Congress are responsible for the challenges within the party. The party itself is not particularly, directing its affairs in an exemplary manner. From the Blueprint newspapers, let's head out to this Nigeria, where we have this one. I wish I could tell a better story, as Kayode started off with. 14.3 million Nigerians are victims of drug abuse, says NAFDAC. Drug agency cautions youth to shun menace of toxic substance. So there you have it. You must take control of your health and, shun all forms of substance abuse, either if it's pharmaceutical substances or any other substance. There's this one also. Wike leads G5 others on condolence visit to Makinde, and that raised some eyebrows, but at the end of the day, it was a condolence visit, and nothing else, we hope.
Maybe we'll touch base with other papers quickly. Nigerian Tribune.
Sorry, is that G5 or G4?
G5 less 1. Somebody's not there.
That's a former governor
the Enugu State.
of Enugu State.
Okay, so this is G5 minus 1 as it is right now. All right, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune. Again, a PDP story leads. Like governors, PDP BOT endorses Ude Okoye as national secretary, wants him sworn in immediately. It's an invitation to anarchy, says Anyanwu. It's a page 3 read, and you see that picture of a G5 X1 on the front page as well. Just one more for you on this front page. You see, government officials paid 100% for same hospital project 5 times without construction. That's credited to the ICPC boss. So which government officials, which hospital, when did this happen? Says another listed wife, son-in-law on payroll. And some of the things that have happened, some of them still happening, will shock you. So page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune.
If you go to the budget, you will be shocked. The Vanguard will be the last. Just not much comment. Just to tell you, the Vanguard headline is experts warn of dangers as Tinubu jerks up 2025 appropriation bill to 54.2 trillion naira. So you can go to the pages of some of these dailies and get to digest the full story. Go beyond the headlines to find out exactly what they are saying. But we'll take a quick break. When we'll come back, we'll get to that very first conversation about the spill in the Niger Delta, but focus the one that happened in River State and talk about the Ogale cleanup and all that.
We understand that our correspondent Deborah Balama is already on standby to bring us certain updates from the area, right?
We'll be right back.
Good morning to you guys in the studio. So I'm at Eleme local government area. Right behind me is a temporary council site. This is the local government area where you have Ogale. Ogale is where the oil spill which happened over the weekend occurred. The platform is said to belong to Shell Petroleum Development Company, and they have come out to say that yes, it was an operational error, that they were doing their routine maintenance, which is called pigging, when the manifold exploded. And well, from what we saw when we got there, it has been brought under control. The spillage has been stopped. However, it left the environment polluted. Yesterday, the chairman of the local government area had a meeting with some delegation from Shell, and they had discussions on the way forward. The chairman also spoke with us during an inspection tour of the site affected about the fact that there is need to clean it up. Hope you won't also not forget that the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project has been cleaning the areas that had been polluted over 40 years ago, and they are still cleaning as we speak. So the community, as well as the chairman, they're all saying that it is not right that while IPREP is trying to clean the environment, that more pollution is going on. Well, that's not the only site, interestingly, where there is pollution. They took us to another site still in Ogale. And by the way, Ogale is actually where IPREP is having the underground cleaning, as they started the underground water cleaning since last year, and they're still on it till now. They say the effect on underground is more devastating than the physical, where you can see physically. So the site they took us to also, some of the people there actually did speak to us, saying that their fear is most times the damage is not just on the surface. If you look at what you see on the video right now on the screen, you would notice that the pipeline is already rusty. It is already having that feel that it's about to burst. It's already emitting oil around the environment. And if you look at the clip that you have right on the screen now, you would see for yourself that the environment is already affected badly by this spill from this pipeline. And they are saying that, well, most of these facilities have their wear and tear, and it's important that the companies who operate them, this particular one you're seeing that does not belong to Shell, it belongs to MPDC, which is of course a subsidiary of NNPCL. So they are saying that it is important that these operators members take good care of their facilities by proper maintenance, of course, ensuring that the wear and tear are being repaired, and so to avert incidents like this. In time past, these companies had accused communities of sabotaging their efforts by pipeline vandalization and all that. But the chairman and some other people who spoke with us yesterday are saying that most times it's due to the tear and wear of these pipelines, as well as most of their facilities around their flow station, that causes this oil spill to happen. Well, so as we speak, the community members are insisting that because this area was not part of the UNEP report and was not captured, they are not very sure that High Prep will come back to clean these particular areas. I'll be speaking to the High Prep PC eventually about whether areas like this can be included in the cleanup exercise, areas that happen while the cleanup is going on and was not captured in the original plan or report by UNEP. So basically, they are saying that if these areas are not included in the report, then who is going to clean them up? They're saying to the companies that if you mess up the environment, if you cause degradation or pollution to this environment, you should be accountable to clean it up as well. So that's it.
Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama reporting there from Ogale in Rivers State. Well, let's get more on this, because this concerns the environment, the livelihoods of the people, and naturally, by extension, Nigeria's livelihood, right? And that's why we're paying attention to this one. We're joined on the program by the chairman of Eleme Local Government Area, Rivers State, Mr. Brain Gokma, and Ogoni Human and Environmental Rights Defender, Akpobari Celestine. Gentlemen, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having us.
Mr. Gokma, let me begin with you. I mean, seeing you walk around, have meetings as well with the representatives of the oil company Shell, speaking with the people of the community. This is something I imagine you're used to, sadly, looking at the data from last year, seeing just how much oil spill was reported by the SPDC JV, close to 100 in 2024. And 2025 has begun already, and we're recording this sort of thing. But one vital question was asked: who is going to clean up? At this point, are we clear on the way forward before we begin to talk about the damage that has happened?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. Well, it's most unfortunate that almost every year there are oil spillages, pollution in the Eleme, whereby on the 11th of June 2023, a similar spillage occurred within it affected almost the 10 communities in the Eleme. You know, Shell, as the cause of the spillage was as a result of their failed facility, which at that time Shell admitted. But up to now, Shell has not done anything to clean up the contaminated areas. So these are the problems we often experience and have with the Shell company. You know, and then sadly, about 4 days ago, a similar thing occurred in Ogale. We are very close to the site, the lots where High Prep are cleaning up, and that's their facility was responsible for the spillage that occurred that resulted to a UNEP report. So in this case, what happened was the manifold is very close to the place. The spillage was as a result of overflow of oil from their facility. It now has spilled over the area, which is very close to what High Prep are doing in Ogale there. Then, fortunately to us as committee, I had a meeting with the manager, government relations of Shell, Mr. Mishak. In course of the meeting, he admitted that the results of the cause of the spillage was not sabotaged by the community, because oftentimes when such thing occur, Shell will want to shift the blame to the community. But yesterday, I'm happy that Mr. Mishak admitted that the cause of the spillage was as a result of their own operation, that they are doing their routine maintenance, and there was overflow. The place was messed up by oil. So that is the position. Apart from that,
Right.
in a very close area where we have the Shell facility, we also have the MPDC facility too. There was also oil spillage too, and this is as a result of their own obsolete facility. The pipe, the lacings is still there. So as a result of that, the facility failed and resulted to the oil spillage.
Mr. Gokwa, just to be clear, just to be clear, looking at the quantum of the spillage, the recent one, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you describe it? 1 being, of course, not as much, 10 being, of course, very big. What is the quantum of that spillage that happened on a scale of 1 to 10? Because some would say it's not as much as some of the ones we have seen in the past. It probably didn't affect as much as well, but you saw it yourself. What is the scale for you, 1 to 10?
Okay, going by scale, I can say it's 8 back home. But one thing about these spillages, you cannot say it's not much. It goes down to the underground water to affect the underground water. So the scale of 10 is 8. It's a serious situation. Mind you that this spillage is from 2 different facilities, like I mentioned. First is from Shell, the other is from NPDC.
Okay,
Before
I go to Mr. Celestine, I just want to quickly clarify something from you, Mr. Gokwa, which was also sort of touched on by our correspondent. Is there a contention over whether or not these communities, this Ogale, is included in the Ogoni report, for which HIPREP is taking a responsibility for cleaning in those areas? Is it included, or is there a contention over whether or not it is included?
No. What the issue she raised was that the spill that happened 3 days ago is not. It's not part of the area that UNEP captured. But yeah, as I speak with you, there is cleanup going on in Ogale, very close to where this recent spill happened.
All right, thank you, Mr. Celestine. Our correspondent also brought to our attention another pipeline that seems to have been ruptured that does not now even belong to SPDC, but belongs to the Nigeria Petroleum Development Company. And, she highlighted the position of the people that this is not their responsibilities as a result of a lack of maintenance of their pipelines, of their operational tools. How does this impact on that aspect of the narrative when it comes to pipeline vandalism and even sometimes, crude oil theft from communities where the blame is put on the people for being in cahoots with those who vandalize pipelines because they know the routes through which these pipelines run?
Thank you for having me again on this channel. This is the kind of thing we live with every day. Even if that pipeline were conveying water, look at how they passed pipeline that is taking billions of dollars into the pockets of people who don't know about Niger Delta or know. Just look at, and you will accuse people of sabotage with this kind of thing. I thank God that this spill happened in their manifold. Even though they would have denied, we would have had a sabotage. Just look at. It is not even covered. Highly inflammable pipeline, littering the whole community. In some places, children coming from school have to walk across it to their homes. Just look at the danger that is engulfing the entire territory called Goni. And when we tell them, solve this problem before you talk about reopening the oil well, they say that you are an enemy of the state. So look at the danger. In a civilized clime, they will declare a state of emergency in the whole territory core element because of what has just happened. And like the chairman said, this is a recurrent thing. It happened every year. From 13th of February now to the 9th of March, a court in London will be hearing a case already filed by this same Ogale, versus Shell. It has been in court for close to 9 years. So that is the mess that we live with. Who we accuse community people, who are the victims of sabotage. In this case, don't look at how naked a highly inflammable pipeline is across the entire community. It means that they don't value the people that live there, don't value the life. I'm not talking about the water. If you go to Element, you cannot drink water from anywhere. The hydrocarbon in the air is so huge and heavy that if you are first time visitor to Ogale, if you go back home, you will be sick. In the unit report that you cited, in CCOK that is mentioned, is the most polluted, highly polluted place in the whole territory in that report. And it is stated in that report that there is benzene, a cancer-causing carcinogen, in the water there. And it has gotten to the water table. So that is the danger, and that is the mess.
All right, Mr. Akpobari, before I take it back to the chairman, we have a data that will show you pretty soon from 2020 up to 2024, and it categorized spills into sabotage, operational issues, and maybe others. So that's the charts there. So what you see, that red now, allow me to call it red, that particular color has to do with sabotage. So the one on top has to do with operational issues, maybe maintenance issue. So by Shell's report, by Shell's analytics, they are saying that sabotage is responsible mostly for spills in the area. Do you have a contrary position? Because if we work by their facts and their report, then the conversation, we need to expand it a little further. Mr. Akpobari, that's for you.
Well, I think this is laughable. It is laughable. If this did not happen in their manifold, they would have also told Nigerians and the world that this current spill we are talking about came because of sabotage. You would have heard of sabotage. I've always asked, where was the word sabotage before we started our struggle? Because we started hearing sabotage after the struggle, just to cover up what they are doing. You know that Shell, they are involved in stealing crude oil from this country. Nigeria does not know the volume of oil produced in this place. So they just allowed this 1 or 2 times things to happen to cover up all their mess and all the things that they are doing. There is no issue of sabotage anywhere. If there is any sabotage, it has an insider that will turn off their machine for somebody to cut a pipeline that is conveying highly inflammable substance. I mean, even a madman will not go and tap a pipeline that is active. Somebody deactivate from the inside, and they do that all the time, just to cover up what they are doing.
Let me take it to the chairman. Mr. Bryan, I don't know whether you have a contrary position to that of Mr. Akpobari, because when we do analysis of vandalism or oil theft and all of that, it's literally industrial skill. It's not a poor man's work. It's not just villagers that do the level of skill when we see the report from the experts who cover this thing. So do you also agree or disagree with Shell that most of the spills are caused by sabotage?
No, I completely disagree with Shell. I align myself with Celestine Obari. You know, okay, the reports you just showed is independent. I think it's their own private reports. We are Shell. What do you expect Shell to say? Like he said, these are techniques because there is no proper records on the quantity of oil produced. So how can they just on their own come up with the reports that say 90% of the spillage are from sabotage? No, that's not correct. That's the problem we have always. That's what we have with Shell. Oftentimes, that's what they do. So that's why you see that I have to put their to actually see things myself. Because even though that I went there yesterday, by this morning you will hear a different thing that it was the result of sabotage. It's not correct. Not correct.
Well, we see that remediation for a lot of them, at least from that Shell's graphics that we showed you, remediation, they say for some of them are not required. Some of them, they say remediation was planned for December the 31st. But you've said that some of those incidents have not been even cleaned up just yet. I think if you look closely at that data, you said that about 23, particularly for last year, is said to be operational, while the remaining said to be as a result of sabotage. Just to be clear, and I know that it's important for you to also come up with your own side of the story, and that's why we're having this conversation. Are you saying that there's never been a situation where sabotage was responsible for an oil spill? That's for you, Mr. Gokwa.
Well, from records available to me, there's no record showing that sabotage in the axis of element. To the best of my knowledge, there's none. Now, I told you that there was a serious split that occurred on 11 June 2003. This happened as a result of operational their facility failure. But even when it was very clear that the cause of the split was from their obsolete pipe, Shell went ahead to say that it was sabotage. You know, so that's the issue we are having with Shell. There's no time they assess responsibility when it comes to this situation at hand.
The one you refer to, pardon me, the one you refer to, June 1, 2023, is that the one at, because I see two on Shell's database. There's one at Rumekwe pipeline at Akarolu, and there's another one at Rumekwe pipeline at Okoma. Is that the one you're referring to?
No, I'm talking about the split that occurred within Aleto, because it's affected the river that cuts across Aleto, Akpajo, Okrewa, and up to Eteo. This split happened in Element.
on June the 1st, 2023?
No, 11th of June, 2023. 11th
of June, 2023. And I just want us to follow it. So on their own database, there's none for June the 11th, 2023, particularly in that area where you mentioned. But the point is, the point of all of this is to know where the challenge is from, know who to hold responsible, and ensure that they are held responsible and they do right by the people, by the environment, and eventually by the nation. So what are you hearing from Shell, particularly for this one? Are they agreeing to clean up? How are you escalating it? How much support are you getting from government?
Okay, and like I said, I had a meeting with the manager government relations yesterday, where tactically he accepted, the Shell accepted responsibility. That's the cause of this split was their own operational issues. But however, they insisted, because that's what they call a joint investigation committee also, where we have regulative agencies, Shell, community, local governments. They form a kind of team to do proper investigation on what is responsible for this spillage. So that's the next step. And this morning, that investigation will start. But however, like I told you, we have seen it practically that the cause is as a result of their overflow from their manifold. But they insisted that there's a need for a joint investigation. So we are ready. After maybe in the next 3-4 hours from now, the investigation will commence. But whatever it is very obvious that the cause is as a result of their from their end. It's from Shell's end.
Okay, and so while that is very, very important, let's also look at other aspects of the narrative. For instance, we also saw another pipeline belong to the Nigeria Petroleum Development Company. I'm coming to you now, Mr. Celestine. So if there are other spills that, as a result of activities of other oil companies, even if they're state-owned, will the communities also be looking to ensuring that the state takes responsibility? Because just last week we were also talking about a wellhead oil spill belonging to the NNPC that led to an explosion, and fire was burning over a period of time. And this ties pretty much into the functions of the NDDC, which is less talked about, which is also addressing environmental degradation as a result of oil spill. So will the communities also be ensuring, either through legal action or otherwise, that the state, either at the state level or the regional level, takes responsibility?
Yeah, definitely, because everything about oil belongs to the federal government. They operate a joint venture with the oil companies. So, like I've always said, that there are two sides of the same coin. So, we are not leaving any stone unturned. The UNEP that my brother Brent talked about has a responsibility to clean the entire Niger Delta, not only Ogale. So wherever we get them culpable, like in this particular matter now, we will take them to court straight. Like this one, their sewer pit, there was an overflow on the sewer pit when they were flushing, and they got to this point. But if it was not inside their facility that this thing happened, now if there was no pressure on them, they would have denied. So we are active. We are taking them to, like I told you earlier, from 13 February to 9th of March. This Ogale matter will be, held in a London court. Recently, the Goe community won the case at The Hague. It is costly and very difficult to fight these charges against the oil companies because they have money, they have the best set of lawyers in the world.
Right.
So it is very difficult. However, we will continue to do our best by ensuring that none of them go unpunished. And that's why we are asking that the government to stop everything about the investment. Because the mess that they are generating every day and creating, who will clean them up? They have to clean up these mess before they leave. So wherever they want to go to, they have to restore our environment so that our people can go back to fishing and farming again. There is a high level of poverty and hunger in the land because you can, as you know, there is a total absence of government. Every family has a generator that power their home. You buy water or you sink your borehole. There is no provision of potable drinking water anywhere, not to talk about Medicare. It is money we get from our fishing and farming business that we use in taking care of our family. And the absence of that, just imagine what is happening to people. How many people that go to bed hungry? How many people that die because they cannot eat or go to hospital? So government need to stop everything about oil exploration, completely overhaul their facilities in the territory.
And that's a really sad irony. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Pobari Celestine Ogoni, human and environmental rights defender, as well as the chairman, Eleme Local Government Area of River State, Mr. Brain Gokba. Thank you, gentlemen. And of course, we'll be following this to see how things play out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on the development in the Niger Delta region. We'll take a moment on the show. And when we return, we're talking about the USAID funding freeze, its effects. We have some analytics and data for you so you get a sense of the impact of all that in a moment. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the impacts of USAID defunding, if you will, and literally withdrawal of personnel by the United States government led by President Donald Trump, where he has made very sweeping statements and policies. As a matter of fact, a lot of the things they are doing with USAID, some people are saying USAID is dead, quote and unquote. How does that affect Africa, the rest of the world, and especially Nigeria? because some of those intervention funds and grants get to us one way or the other. We've been joined in the program by the founder, Global President, Women Empowerment Program, Dr. Priscilla Achakpa, joining us from Benue State. Also, Mr. Global Affairs Analyst and former presidential aspirant, Mr. Adamu Garba, joins us from Abuja studios. Mr. Garba, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, Trump he was sworn in on January the 20th. In just weeks, the whole world is vibrating, from trade war to the statement in Gaza. But the one that concerns us is some of the interventions through USAID that he's now said, look, all of the spendings that are happening that are not necessary, they're not going to continue. So, as an overview, how does this affect us? For the people who don't understand the implication of the policy and the executive order of Mr. Trump?
Thank you once again for having me. You see, prior to the Dodge announcement, when Donald Trump was sworn in office, he promised even during the campaign that there is something called Department of Government Efficiency that is going to be run by Elon Musk. So that department happened to be like an information expose department, and then driving the great reset of the United States policy framework, both internally and externally. Part of which is this USAID that was technically put out of use, and that although prior to this expose, people like us and so many ordinary Africans, especially Nigerians, will be thinking that USAID is actually one of the most important organizations that assisted in supporting healthcare, education, endowment, and several civil society organization activities in Nigeria. Because in just FY 2023, Nigeria got almost $824 million of USAID funding. But then again, when the expose came out, and so many documents came to limelight, especially one of the critical documents was the document released by the Department of Army of the United States, which is called Special Army Operation Forces. I think the document is online. You can check it. I think F305.130 document that discussed how USAID is used as a weapon of unconventional warfare, conventional warfare, and also irregular warfare. So it means that even though this USAID is supposed to serve some humanitarian, educational, and also health and civil society cases, it was actually an operation of the United States Army. And what they use is to carry out so many PSYOPs and info-ops operations to create a situation that will bring about irregularity, destabilization, confusion, and so many other state of trouble that we have today in most of the places where they operate most. Because if you look at the list of the top 10 countries where USAID operate most, from Ukraine, the topmost, down to South Sudan, you will see that almost all these countries are in this array, despite the so much money that is committed to them. Ukraine alone in that 2023 has about $16 billion. But all of us know the situation of Ukraine today. Two-thirds population of Ukraine have left the country. More than 600,000 deaths. And deaths keep continuing. And when you track the history of Ukraine, from the coup d'etat that took place in 2014 that removed Viktor Yanukovych, down to Zelensky era, and all the current moment that is happening, the crisis between them and Russia, and the debt that is being recorded there, which is funded single-handedly by the USD, by the USAID, then you will now begin to question the $824 million that is invested in Nigeria in 2023. Where does it go to? Are we sure that these monies that are invested are not going through this unconventional irregular warfare that they use to drive their agenda by making sure that they keep us in check, in alignment with the principles, diplomatic, intelligence, financial, law enforcement, and economic programs of the United States of America, so that we are always in line with their own programs? Does that inform the reason why, since USAID is also one of the organs that fund insurgency in the world, Does that inform the reason why most of the places where you have the massive amount of
trying to understand you.
The crisis and the conflict hardly cease, like Boko Haram that is located in the remote part of Lake Chad.
Mr. Garba,
this kind of massive weapons.
Mr. Garba, I'm trying to understand you. I'm really trying to understand you here. Are you saying that USAID is a smoke screen for something entirely different, for which what you're saying we cannot particularly provide proof? What we know USAID to be is, an interventionist agency providing intervention in the health sector, and some of its programs are known. PEPFAR, for instance, the programs are known. So I don't know if you have proof to provide, to back up some of the things that you were saying, but what we know USAID to be is entirely different. And that's why I want to refer to some of the data that we have that is, showing what we stand to lose as a result of this withdrawal of funding. If we can just show that data on the screen. There's a huge threat to job losses, more than 100 employees. For those who responded to the survey, they said employee losses would be between 20 and 50 people each. Overall, there is a sense of insecurity going forward. And at this point, perhaps it's important to also mention that, some of those benefiting would rather not speak because of their grant that is still hanging. And this is what I want you to speak to, actually. If there's a huge threat of job losses, and grants as a result of the USAID funds freeze, what are the lessons really that Nigeria, should be taking away from this?
You see, just like you and like myself and so many other people, we used to think that USAID is actually in these countries to provide these interventions that it mentioned. And that's why I referred to you a document that is released by the Department of of the Army of the U.S. Army Special Operation Forces. They call it ARSOF. The document is online. You can check it. You will see the operations. You will see so many activities that is being carried out in the name from the front as trying to intervene to help the citizen get by, to help in our educational endowment, healthcare challenges, especially on primary healthcare operations. But in essence, these operations are actually conducted to extract data so that further destabilization agenda can be pushed. This is not being spoken by me. This is expressed by the United States government themselves. Elon Musk, in fact, even mentioned that USAID is actually a criminal organization. And you have several of these mentioned, from Marco Rubio, who is the United States Secretary of Defense, to the spokesperson of the United States government. All of them are mentioning this, including the Vice President J.D. Vance. So when you look at these things, even President Trump himself. So why I'm not saying that, it is an information that is online, that they are criminalizing the operations of USAID. So if the funders, the supporters, the encouragers, the operational country of USAID is telling you that this is a criminal organization, then why should I actually accept it as something that is good? This is the thing, and the lesson is, of course, so many people are going to lose their job. You have so many grants that is going to go off. It is true, but what is the consequence? What is the impact, the damages that this kind of operation is causing to countries? That's why I told you, just look at the top 10. I put it even on my page. Just look at the top 10 that is released by Statista, the top 10 countries that get the most grant from USAID. None of these countries is in peace, none of them. Somalia, Ethiopia, South Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan. These are the countries that are getting money, including Nigeria. Nigeria is listed as number 7 in these countries. So if the US themselves are saying that this is criminal and what they do is perpetrate evil in countries by carrying out irregular or unconventional warfare as a program of war on terror,
All right.
then we should take USAID,
All right, Mr. Garba.
you know, with a pinch of salt.
Mr.
And we
Garba.
should be very careful. I think Nigeria needs to have a structure of vetting NGOs before they even start operating.
So let's establish
Because
some things, Mr. Garba, and be factual as much as possible. Yes, we understand that there's been a change of government in the U.S., so naturally we understand how the politics, the electioneering process, how they went, how a lot of things were very divisive. So this is primarily a U.S. politics issue, right? And you'd understand that once a new government comes in, lots of things are said, and you can't take some of those things to the bank because they are local politics for America. Secondly, a lot of these countries, and we'll show you some of the countries most affected, just show you that map there you see, and this is done by Accountability Lab, so you get a sense. Nigeria is there, Ukraine, as you said, is there, but you know, the color is not as deep as some other countries in North America or South America, as you can see. What you will know, Mr. Garba, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is a lot of this conflict started before the intervention of USAID. And we'll go to the thematic areas that USAID has been involved in. Let's just move to that briefly. So you see some of the areas that USAID has been providing intervention. So these conflicts happened, and then USAID came in. Some would say you're trying to blame the USAID for a conflict that happened prior to their intervention. But look at the areas that they've been involved in, areas of governance, health, and I'm sure you're aware of that, issues of anti-corruption, climate, gender as well. So this is backed by data. Are you not really blaming the wrong person? Because some will say these countries should look inwards and look for the cause of the challenges and not blame USAID, Nigeria being one of them.
You see, Kayode, this is because we are engineered, you know, with a colonial mindset. So, and that is why we always keep thinking that this organization are actually coming to intervene. And you have a case that, like you mentioned, is it a chicken or the egg? Which one comes first? But then I can give you a reference of what happened in Ukraine. Ukraine, prior to the color revolution, was a very peaceful country in 2010. Before Yulia Tymoshenko started Orange Revolution. And from there, you have Victoria Yanukovych coming. The country was very stable. Before Victoria Nuland was appointed as Under-Secretary of State of the United States, which her principal jobs, these records are online, is to see how they can undermine Ukraine because of the government support for the neighboring country of Russia and Belarus. And that is how it was engineered. Zelensky came on board and this war started. So where did USAID start? Now look at the spend profile of USAID prior to that conflict and look at the peace that is in Ukraine, then look at the amount of money that they injected, and then look at the conflict, the way it is growing. So people will always want to say that this has been helping us, maybe giving you health and challenges and supporting these things. But then even when you open the books, you will see that these activities that they carry out, the supply chain of the material that they get all comes from the United States. Again, the information they get, the weapons that gets to the terrorists, everyone has question about it. And there are so many blames that have gone to the NGOs, most especially USAID. And as I told you earlier, it is the same United States government. I'm not talking about any other body. USAID is an agency of the United States. And it is the same United States government that is telling us that this is a criminal organization. So if we take it, you know,
Mr. Garba,
as a local political issue, then we are not being just to ourselves because we are also suffering from the consequences of
Mr. Garba, just for want of time, Mr. Garba, just a moment for want of time so that we'll wrap up the conversation. I know there are so many things that have been said about, you said, in terms of undermining sovereignties and all the things we've always spoken about and accusation back and forth between the Democrats and the Republicans. But there's a question you're not answering. What we need to do differently at the end of the day. It's not just the United States that is giving aid. Aid comes to Africa from all over the place. But more aid, then we get more impoverished and indebted at the end of the day. What should we do go forward? This is a checker. What signal should we get and do if you were to advise 3 things in 1 minute?
Yes, number one, I like the stand of the government. Vice President was in Davos and then clearly stated the position of Nigerian government that we would rather live with our poverty and with our dignity in our hands than to go with our ball in our hands begging for aid. So it is important for Nigeria to begin to discuss equal terms with nations than to just going for aid. So it is very important for us to unlock our productivity, to come inward, to see what we can do to enable our growth, to develop local capacity, to look inward deeply so that we can create programs and policies and framework that is in tune with our local realities in Nigeria, not always to be dependent on what is coming from the outside. Even the medicine, like the immunization that is going, and also some support that is given to maternal health care that we take from USAID, none of these drugs came from Nigeria. So why don't we leverage on our local traditional operations to be able to support ourselves? Why don't we look at how we can customize our education system to be in tune with our reality, as opposed to the colonially driven education system that gives us good English, but at the end of the day, hardly gives us the job we need. You know, other than the service opportunity we can hardly manufacture. Most countries that grow successfully, like China, like India, you find out that they localize their operations. Why don't we do that? So that is what I think we need to do than to depend on aid.
I must thank you so much. It's an ongoing conversation. This is time for Africa to look inward, time for Nigeria to look inward and begin to take care of ourselves by ourselves. Maybe we'll pick that mantra as well. Making Nigeria great again, if you will, because America has decided to look at themselves and sort out their internal issues, even if it has to do removing monies across the world. Thank you, Mr. Garba Damu, Global Affairs Analyst and former presidential aspirant. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, how should women protect themselves before help comes? Our security expert will give us what we need, tell us what to do. Join us again.
All right, let's speak with Mr. Ademola Adetuberu, a security consultant and CEO, the Barricade Executive Protection Limited, joins us live from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Mr. Adetuberu, welcome to the Morning Brief. Let's get right into it. Self-defense for women. I think a lot of people make the mistake and think women are the weaker vessel in sense of strength, when women are actually really strong. Right, the things they go through, men probably will not be able to go through half of it and not cave in, right? Even though men have their strengths naturally. So speak to us as a woman. What is okay? So speak to the women. What is the first thing to know about self-defense for women? As a man asking a man now for women.
Okay, thank you so much once again, and thank you for having me this morning. Safety is a fundamental right for every woman, whether when commuting or driving or alone at the workplace. Safety is a priority and it's a fundamental right. And this morning, briefly, I'm going to be looking at some tips, some safety tips, that women should employ, whether when commuting, when driving, when acting alone. So, on the first, I'm going to be talking about self-defense techniques. Self-defense techniques for women. It's so important. It's so important for every woman to know the basics of self-defense technique, which maybe wrist grappling, how to get yourself out of someone that how to break a wrist hold. It's so important for you to know how to strike vulnerable areas like the eyes, poke their eyes, the throat, the groin. It's so important. So I would advise every woman out there to please register, try and know the ABC, the basics of boxing, the basics of self-defense. It's so important. And also, women have to wear not only makeup, put on confidence, not just makeup. Put on confidence, once you have your makeup on, at the same time, you have to put on confidence. Because all these attackers, they also look out for the people they attack. So if they see that you are weak, they are likely to, take you as a prey. So you want to put on confidence. The second thing I'm going to talk about, which we have talked about on this on the channel's TV, is situational awareness. Situational awareness, we can never stop talking about situational awareness, which means women should take account. They should take account of people around them, places, vehicles, atmosphere, behavior of people, atmosphere. You have to pay attention to your environment. For example, if you're not driving, you're hopping into a commercial vehicle, it's not a time for you to get on your phone. You have to avoid such kind of distractions. Yeah, you can check your phone once in a while, but you don't want to pay a lot of attention to that. You want to pay attention to your environment and trust your instinct. The moment you feel something is odd, something is off, probe it. Don't just trade off or feel it will just sort itself out. Trust your instinct. It's so important. Sometime last year and still ongoing, Turkey, I will put a case study. Turkey have had a lot of increase in women attack the last year and ongoing. So one of the things they are doing in Istanbul, Turkey today, is they create a lot of free training, free self-defense training techniques, for women. Just walk into one of the academies, and they're going to train you for free. The government is paying, the academy. The third thing that is so important is the role of technology. It's so important. This is the 21st century. We are in it's a global world. It's a global village now. So you have to employ the use of technology. There are some that we call DAD, D-A-D. DAD there means Defense Alarm Device. Defense Alarm or Alert Device. These are wearable. They are like rings that you can put on. They are like rings. They are things that just a press, with one press, right? You have already called for help. Of course, we have to do much more in Nigeria. But even at that, 112 is a very good emergency number you can dial. It works. We need to trust our country. We need to trust in the system that we have. 112 is an emergency code. 199 is an emergency code. Yes, once you dial that, immediately there's someone behind the call that's going to pick your call and is going to ask you what's your emergency. So if it is security, if it is fire, whatever it is, you can immediately, run through the operator, and help is going to come.
Beautiful.
Help is going to come. But before help comes, what you need to do, you have to know how to practice self-defense techniques. You have to pay attention to situational awareness, right? And also attacking the vulnerable points of the attacker.
I like the point where you said that you have to wear confidence. I think that's really important. So for the women out there, and girls, by the way, we need to start early. It's never too early to start learning jab, cross, hook, uppercut. Mr. Ademola Adetubari, we have to thank you so much for equipping our women. Bukola is excited right now. You should see the smile on her face. I haven't learned some of these tips. Thank you so much. We'll speak to you sometime soon for more tips. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll head over to Zamfara State in the aftermath of that really sad incident. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.
Well, I'm pleased to know that my smile is not just for my makeup and for my beloved camera, but also for, security concerns as far as women are concerned. I wish I could smile a lot more right now, but I cannot, because we're headed over to Zamfara State, where a rather sad incident occurred yesterday as a result of a fire that broke out from a nearby house and spread over to an Islamic school where children were sleeping, and about 17 children have sadly died as a result. So let's head over to Zamfara now, where we'll be speaking with Mr. Abdulrazak Bello Kaura. He's a publicity secretary, Kaura Namoda Focus Forum. He joins us virtually from Gusau, the capital of Zamfara State. Thank you for joining us on the program to bring us up to speed with what exactly is happening right now in that community, Kaura Namoda. Has there been, an identification of the victims? What intervention has been provided for families right now? And what's the state of the other children that we gather were injured?
Good morning, my sister, and thank you for having me. It was a very tragic that we woke up yesterday with this very sad development. About 17 innocent children, very young one, between the ages of 10 to 16, died as a result of this ugly incident that happened. Honestly, it was very devastating. We were thrown into confusion. So far, the 17 children that died, they came from various villages around Kaura Namoda, not exactly within the Kaura Namoda, because they are coming from neighboring villages to come and acquire Islamic knowledge, especially the Quranic knowledge. So far, those injured were being taken care by the government of the local government, the Kaura Namoda local government. They were now at the general hospital Kaura Namoda receiving treatment because they were initially treated very briefly and returned back to the school. We now say no. There should be a proper treatment for them. So the local government chairman took them back to the general hospital Kaura Namoda. And also there are some politicians like member representing Morubungudu, like chairman Marul Zurumi local government, Birni Magaji, Shinkafi, the local government areas, contributed about 2 million naira. 1 million naira was from the House of Rep member Zenda Mugudu, and 1 million naira from the local government chairman of the Zamfara North. So far, the area is still receiving sympathizers that are going there to sympathize with the Malams and the families of the affected children. So the area is still receiving troops of people that are coming to condole the clerics there.
So very quickly, tell us, has the cause of the fire been ascertained? We understand that it broke out from a nearby house.
You'll be surprised to hear that the fire started at about 4 spots within the area, but at different locations. The first one started at the area we call Bangala, just like 400 meters away from that school. There was corn stalks there too. They now reported there is a fire outbreak. The people went there to quench the fire. The next one was around area where we call Nasarawa Sekia. The same thing, corn stalks fire outbreak. They went and quenched it. So after around 12:30 to 1 a.m., they now say there is a fire outbreak at the. In fact, at the building of the school, there was some corn stalk that were packed there. So the fire started there. They were able to quench the fire. They now went back to sleep around 1:45 to around 1:50 to let me see, just say 2 a.m. roughly. So the fire now came back where the pupils were already sleeping. So it engulfed them. They were inside. It trapped them. They were unable to exit. Some of them were rushing, struggling to escape. About more than 50 of them were able to escape because there are about 100 of them in the hall. So that's how the 17 were 15 were injured, and those 30 were roasted, just like the way you are roasting yam or you are roasting plantain. That's how you see them, very, very devastating. In fact, you would not like to even see that picture. They could not be even fact the normal way, using the cotton material to wrap them, taking them to graveyard. We have to use sack. Empty sack that we used to pack grass is the one we used to pack them inside because of the level of the damage.
Really sad, and our commiserations are with the people of Zamfara State, the people of Kaura Namuda, and the government of Zamfara State. This speaks a lot to the functionality of the emergency services, state emergency agency, and of course the fire services. We want to thank you so much for joining us on the program, Mr. Abdulrazak Bello Kaura, Publicity Secretary, Kaura Namuda Focus Forum, who joined us virtually via Zoom from Zamfara State.
Thank you for having me, my sister. Good morning.
And from here, we move on to another equally important subject, global business trends as it has to do with Nigeria's dairy industry. What can we learn from this? Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Let's talk business, the economy, and the dairy industry. We're being joined in the program by the Operations Director, Manufacturing Industry in Canada, Mr. Olufemi Johnson. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
You know, when I have conversations like this and with the experts, what I like to do is to have the experts dashboard a proposition or presentation as to what exactly is the state of that particular space. Say, let's say the dairy industry. I came across a document that says Nigeria produces just about 10% of its dairy consumption or dairy consumption needs. The rest is imported. What data do you have so that we can piggyback on that to build on the conversation?
Well, I tell you, when it comes to numbers, there's no point looking for numbers, because the fact is that when it comes to dairy and dairy industry, we're not anywhere in Nigeria. And what I mean by that is that apart from maybe some peasant farmers, you know, like the ones we see a little bit here in the north, those that do Nuno and all of these things that we take in the north, which is the only thing that represents milk. The fact is, as a society, we don't have milk. Our kids don't have milk protein. We didn't grow up with milk protein. What we generally call milk in Nigeria is actually not milk. They're creamers, you know, and they're not qualified to be called that. The fact that we patch them with that name milk, it's bastardizing, and it's wrong and illegal, because most of these organizations, these big multinationals that run around us here, would not label those creamers as milk, because there's a global standard for what milk is. There's a World Health Organization standard for what milk is. You don't make milk. You only bottle it, and the only thing you do when you get milk is that you pasteurize and you bottle. The moment you take milk and you start to separate its components, you're taking the butter fats out, you are concentrating it to milk protein or to whey protein, or you are breaking it into different constituents. Whatever derivative you then have, you cannot continue to label as milk. Now, I fortunately lead about the largest processing operations of dairy in North America right now. And in the last 7 years that I've been thoroughly exposed to that global space, and specifically dairy, I've been in manufacturing for the past 25 years. And I started here in Nigeria before relocating abroad and focusing a lot on the dairy industry. One thing I can quickly say, which is what I've already emphasized, is that we don't have it. There's no dairy space. We don't have milk. There's no milk in this country. We didn't grow up taking milk. Our kids are not taking milk. What we call milk, if for example you go anywhere in the world and you go to maybe an hospital, somebody's recuperating, a doctor will say, oh, take milk and all of that. In Nigeria, a doctor will say that as well. But what we then go to buy are those things that are in cans, that we dilute, you know, and take. But the reality is that those are just reconstituted creamers. So talking about data, I went through a little bit of looking for data as well. But even that is not even trustworthy, because if you have milk, you'll see it in urban areas. You'll see milk around us. The only time if you have ever taken the closest you would have to milk, I don't know how pasteurized or how good quality it is the Nuno that you see mainly in the north. You know, all those things we put in cans, they should not even be labeled as milk. And that's something that myself and a few other Nigerians that are experts and exposed in this level are beginning to look into.
Mr. Johnson, The statement is literally an industrial offset because all of us, literally all of us, felt like we've been taking milk, or now you're saying they are creamers. Thank God you're the expert. So what exactly?
Myself.
Yeah. So what exactly is it that we don't need it, or we can't produce it, or we lack the ability to produce it, or we have a knowledge problem? Help me break it down.
Well, for me, I think it's. First, the infrastructure is not there, just like there's no infrastructure in most other aspects of our economy. Traditionally, every tribe around Africa, we relate to milk, north, south, east, west, everywhere in Africa. I remember when I was younger, that there's something that you get around, I think, Ilorin, something that Yorubas will call wara, which is a derivative of milk. So any culture you go into traditionally has something to do with milk, either goat milk, cow milk, whatever. So, but as a country, we do not have any policy or structure guiding milk production. I'll give an example. In most developed countries, US, Canada, Europe, Middle East, everywhere you go, Saudi Arabia and all of that, they have clear policies on milk production, milk processing, and to ensure that children actually get access to milk protein. I'll give another example. For example, during the COVID, in Canada and for most of the developed world, milk production was declared an essential service because protein has to go on. So the problem for us is first and foremost, what is our national or even at the state level policy towards milk protein? Because every country has got one where you are trying to ensure that, because that's the cheapest and easiest protein for children to grow and for adults to, the older people, the very old people to get calcium. And there has to be a policy around it. We don't have one. And that's why generally, if you look at that space, we can label creamers as milk, and we can take that all our lives and continue to tell ourselves that we take milk, because we don't. And so for some of us, we need to start that discourse, and that's part of what I'm working on. That's part of why I'm back in the country in the last few days.
Mr. Johnson, I think
we need to start some kind of framework in this country that then leads to foreign direct investment, where people then start to say, now the most difficult piece of it, if I may just go on a little bit more, is the supply chain structure. Because when you're doing milk, it needs to be cold from when you bottle it to when it's consumed. You know, and I'm not talking about just powdering, making it into powder. I'm also talking about taking the liquid milk, the kind we see when we travel to Europe or we go to North America. So the most difficult aspect of it is developing that supply chain. But it's not impossible. We can start in more modern areas and all of that. And then getting government to support the production, distribution, and also the affordability, just as it is done in most Western countries. For example, in Canada, in the retail sector, you can't just put prices on milk, you know, because it's considered essential. And you see that everywhere in the world. So first, we don't even make milk. We don't even produce milk. We don't have dairy farms per se. And then we get all these reconstituted...
All right, Mr. Johnson, because of time, if I may come in, I know you have a lot to say. I wish we had more time. So we're going to talk about the subnationals and how they can be part of this, because I'm looking at the Nigeria Dairy Policy 2023 to 2028 that covers the fact that there has to be, the government's objective to increase domestic milk production, because according to the government, approximately $1.5 billion is spent annually for the importation due to production deficit. Where does the subnational come in here? Because the federal government at its best, at the agricultural level, Ministry of Agriculture, now we have Ministry of Livestock Development. So this conversation is apt. How does the subnational come in to help? Because I kind of feel bad that I've never taken milk. I have been taking creamers.
Well, it's painful, I tell you. But yes, and I agree with you, and that goes back to how we can encourage ourselves to start to invest. Because now this policy document still has a lot of work to do. But I must say that the present administration of Tinubu seems to have at least created an environment where we know exactly where we are. You know, before now, economic indices have been manipulated under the table. We are defending the naira. We are doing subsidy. You know, it was not clear for us. You know, now we've removed all of that. We know where we are. We can only develop and grow more. So that will encourage investors in the sense that you know what you're going into, you know that the basic economic principles would apply to the system. US is trying to increase oil production, so there's a war somewhere else. You can relate that immediately to what would happen within the Nigerian economy. Unlike before, where economic indices cannot be easily translated because there are some people manipulating things for their friends and for their own people. So the focus now should be how to try to drive investment into that sector, you know, and to also start to reorientate the population for us to understand fundamentally that we don't take milk. Milk protein is the easiest and cheapest source of protein and the easiest and cheapest source of calcium for the elderlies, and that we don't have it in our society. So that those that then start to invest and start to make real milk, get milk from the cow, pasteurize it and bottle it and distribute it. People start to understand that this is what real milk looks like, and that's what we need to move into.
All right, Mr. Johnson, 2 quick questions. Are you opening shop, or have you opened shop in Nigeria?
No, I'm not opening shop. Of course, I'm driving. I'm definitely working towards investment, and it's at an advanced level into creating a revolution within the industry. Part of that would have to be reorientation, and also to challenge the status quo, especially this idea of, and when I say it's something that I'm passionate about, this idea of labeling creamers as milk. It's actually illegal. Most of these companies are European businesses. They can't label those things as milk in their own home countries. Okay, that's why I make creamers, I manufacture creamers and all of that. So, yeah. My apologies, totally out of time. That's why we needed to open shop. Though we're talking about FDI, you'll give us that FDI. So we'll be following you up to make sure you open shop in Nigeria. And I don't know who to sue for giving me creamers. You're going to start to see things move. I don't know who to sue for giving me creamers and labeling it milk, but we'll talk about that later on. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Olufemi Johnson, some of us are working on it already. Operations Director, Manufacturing Industry in Canada. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much. Yeah. I don't know how you feel, but I feel bad I've been taking creamers. Bukola is laughing. She's up for the next segment as we talk to one of the creators who brought to you right here on the program. Join us again in just a moment.
And so from milks and creamers, let's move to something equally interesting, maybe even more so, creativity. And this is where we highlight women doing amazing things in their own different fields. Let's welcome Olufumilayo Okpanubi Alasholui. She's a mixed media artist, paint producer, and entrepreneur. She's many things rolled into one. And you indeed look like beautiful mixed media this morning.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Alasholui.
Yes.
I got it correctly.
You got it right.
Beautiful.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and you're doing a lot of things. You are into painting, and we don't get a lot of women doing painting these days. That's interior, an aspect of interior decor. Yeah. You also have a beach line wear. Yes. That's called Abyss Tidal.
Tribal Tides.
Tribal Tides. Yes. Amazing. We'll talk about all of that.
All right.
But how come you're a lot of things rolled into one? Let's talk about the backstory first.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me again. It actually started when I was in the UK, and I studied business and business information technology. And after a while, my daddy invited me, because the Ereke Paint is a family business. And my daddy invited me over to Nigeria to, join the family business. By the time, I didn't want to come to Nigeria.
We hear that all the time these days.
I didn't want to. But, having been there for a long time, and alongside with my sister, looking for a job wasn't that easy, it wasn't that easy. So I thought to myself, my dad is calling me on a platter of gold. Why don't I just come to Nigeria and see how it goes? If I don't like it, I can always go back. And so that was the agreement I had with my dad. And then I came to Nigeria. But this first 6 months was interesting and very nice. I mean, you're treated here in your own country as a first-class citizen compared to when you're over there. And I was loving it, I was enjoying it and everything. And I just thought to myself, no, let me just stay. let me just say, I love the ambience, the culture, everything, and that was how I stayed back in Nigeria. And joined the family business as a general manager of Ereke Paints Limited. But I wasn't fulfilled. I felt there was something missing. So I attended this Christian Center. So when I got to church, I came outside, I saw an artist with all these beautiful paintings on the walls and everything. And I just got through that. Like, this is something I really want to do. Because when I was young, I loved creating, I loved dressing, I loved putting colors together. So I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I think I would love to also paint and do all these things. And my father in your eyes said, is this one not enough that you're doing? So in my spirit, I'm like, I don't think my daddy really understands what I really want to do. So I went to...
How old were you by this time, by the way?
I was, in my early 30s.
And you're an adult already.
An adult
so
already.
Who says you can't learn anything?
No,
in a very old age.
No,
okay.
That's not true. You're always young at heart, and if you put your mind to it, you always want, do it. And my art mentor, I now went to go and meet him, and I said, I would like you to brush me up, but my dad is not really feeling. He said, I know the mindset of your dad. And every time I was doing some art piece and he was brushing me up, I'll take it home. And my father would be like, wow, this is beautiful. And in my mind, I'm like, is this not the same man that, And with time, my father, sometimes when we're less busy at work, he would say, Fumi, is it not yet time for you to? And that's how my father encouraged me. And I had my very first exhibition at the company premises, where he invited friends, dignitaries, and all that to support me, and which was showcased and aired on TV. And from there, I kept on brushing myself up, and I've had like 3 or 4 exhibitions already in the past.
Beautiful.
Yes.
And some of your works are a departure from the norm. I'm not talking about the beachline wear now, your paintings. So tell us about, the types of clientele that you've attracted as far as interior painting is concerned, from the intimate residential homes to, business establishments, and, what informs the kind of, the work that you provide for them.
Okay, so what started me off in starting the beach wears and the paintings on hats and all that was I discovered that just having artwork on the wall, to me then, at the time, wasn't really, really moving, And I felt to myself that in this country, Nigeria, people will always eat. People will always put on clothes.
This is your work, by the way.
Yes.
And this is an intimate room.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
It's not even an intimate room. I created it to look like an intimate room. It's actually outside the office. And I used my artwork to demarcate and make it look like a room, So that's where creativity comes in.
And this is your work too?
This is my work,
okay.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yes. And so I just felt like people will always eat and people will always put on clothing. So I changed my mindset. Like, I will still paint on walls, on artwork for people to hang on their walls. But I believe that having it on the clothing will also speak volume, because people will have my artwork on their clothing and it can go mobile, it can go anywhere, even outside the country. And I got inspired by that. And that was what motivated me in starting the clothing line of having the African. I want people to appreciate our culture. I want people to appreciate art. Because, there are times where people are like, art is for those abroad, that people don't really appreciate art. I want everybody to have my piece of artwork in their homes. And I just got motivated and I started it. And like play, people were just warming to it and being so like, wow, so you can put artwork on hats, you can put artwork on clothing.
On shirts, what you're wearing.
This African wear and all that. And because I really love our country, I love our heritage, I said, okay, this is a way of spreading and create. You don't have to say much. Picture speaks. And when people see you, those in diaspora too, they miss Nigeria, they miss our culture, and they want to feel the presence of our heritage. So when you have something like, you're wearing something like this in the UK or in the US, or like, people are drawn to you. Oh wow, I know where she's from. Oh wow, because I have Danfo buses as well, painted on clothing and everything. So people will it brings us together. It brings that unity and makes that kind of like, yes, we are together, we are one. So that's the kind of message, because I love to inspire people. I love to pass positive message across to people. So some of my paintings, I have inspiring words like blessed, peace, joy. Because we live in an environment where there's too much sadness, hostility, and everything. And I love to preach through my art media. So that's what really, really encouraged me. And if you look at this top, it's mixed with Ashoke pockets. So that's Ashoke pockets combined with the paintings as well. So that's why I call it a mixed media.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You've already talked about the beach light. Even I wanted you to talk about, your painting work. We'll get to that. But how have you combined this creativity with business? For those who are watching you and want to learn, and probably have the same kind of talent, but they want to escalate it, they want to take it to another level where they can be visible. How have you gained visibility and, the currency as well?
Yeah. The most important thing is to have a structure. If your business doesn't have a structure, it will be very difficult to be able to plan and to be able to work out things in a way that your mind is not, your brain is not cluttered with too much activities. You need to be able to delegate as well to the right people, right set of people. And you need the right set of people to also work with you. If you don't have the right set of people to work with you, you'll be frustrated. You will seriously be frustrated. So I've been able to have a good structure, and I've been able to have the right kind of people to work with me, which makes work so easy for me to be able to think ahead and be creative and think outside the box in doing other things. So that's really, really helped me. And you have to be able to not to be frustrated in the system. I'm telling you, there's so many things that can frustrate you in the system, because having the raw materials to buy all these raw materials are quite expensive, because most of them are imported. And when people, you charge people and they're like, why is this so expensive? So I try to make my artwork as affordable as possible. I don't like the thought of people say, art is so expensive, so expensive. No, that's why I try to create a way where the cost of the items, I'm not using too much expensive. I source locally as well. And
but they're also durable.
They are very durable. You can wash this. You can wash this with soap, but not with too much, those strong detergents. I don't advise that. It's just like you want to wash Ankara, Adire, those tie and dye materials. You don't use very strong detergents to wash them. Okay. And when you're drying them out in the sun, you don't leave it long out there for it to fade.
There's so many sides to this conversation. We could even talk about how entrepreneurs like you get frustrated and what government can do about it. But we must thank you so much. And anchor at this point.
Thank you.
Beautiful work that you have here. I've been talking with Mrs. Olufumilayo Okpanubi Alasholuyi, a mixed media artist, paint, producer, designer, and the list goes on and on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. God bless you.
Amen. And there's more to come on the show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every time Afrobeat and all the boom, 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 boom music. Sometimes take a breather, just slow things down and do some classical music. And this morning, we're joined by Peggy Chilaka. She's an expressive classical singer and vocalist. Peggy, good morning.
Good morning.
That was you there singing Born is a Light?
Yes. that was me.
Beautiful. I have to get this out of the way. What is Gen Z doing with classical? How did this union happen? What's going on?
Okay, so the thing is, Afrobeats, it's a beautiful type of music.
So they don't come for you?
It doesn't resonate with me.
Right.
I like my music calm. I vibe to them, I can vibe to it, I can dance to it, but I would rather sing classical pieces. Yes, my personality does not really resonate with Afrobeats because it has a lot to do with movements and...
Sometimes there's a lot happening in just one song, right?
Yes, exactly.
And you need that calm.
I don't have that. I can't do it.
You can't deal.
Maybe I could try, maybe as a backup, but no.
So let's talk about your vocal range now that you talk about backup. I know it's a big deal for classical artists. You want to know what's your vocal range? What can you... which of the ranges are you comfortable with?
Okay, so as a soprano singer, you should be able to hit C5 comfortably.
So for people who don't understand, the keyboard, so C5 is at that end?
No, not at that end. You have A, B, C, D, then A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 3. So it goes up to 5. So you should be able to hit till C5 comfortably.
So using the keyboard, that's why I said at that end. So to his right is where C5 is, am I correct?
Yes, but you have like 2 extra.
Beyond this?
It's not, yes. You have like 2 extras. 2 extra C.
That you have
or 1 extra C, yes.
Can you make the sound?
Can I make a sound of C5?
Yeah. Or can you show us your range, if that's possible? Do, re, mi, fa, sol?
All right, so if I'm to sing, I might not really get C5.
Yeah, because I know the conditions are not perfect. You're seated and all of that, but just help us understand.
All right, so I'd rather do... okay, let me just do the normal scale. Do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Oh.
So, yes, there could be a higher range than that, but...
Depending on the keyboard, what the keyboard is strikes. So how are you able to pitch that high? Because I obviously wouldn't try that. And a lot of people hear you do that and like, God, why? Why did you give her and not me?
Well, so it's actually training, one, and consistency.
Yeah.
You get better the more you practice. Yes, you cannot compare a 6-month rehearsal to a 3-month rehearsal. The difference will be there. So there are different voices for different people. As a male, you would probably be tenor, baritone, bass.
Or terrible for some people.
No. With training, you won't be terrible, yes. Then as female, you would do soprano, alto, and the likes, yes. So with training, you would get better. So that's basically it.
Fantastic. So speak to us about how lucrative this is, because you're doing classical music in Nigeria, where most people want to vibe to Afrobeats. Now, I know that there is a market for it, that people who would choose classical music any day, anytime. But largely speaking, how lucrative is this for you? How much acceptance you also get from people or not?
So classical music is a Western music, and it's also like more acceptable in a formal setting.
Like an elite.
Yes, exactly. Like you have to create a concert. You have to have a concert, like host a concert where there'll be thousands of people or hundreds of people attending. Like it has to be properly planned for. So these are the only cases that I know of in Nigeria where you can have something monetary for your classical singing. Yes, but overseas you can have just a concert for Christmas or just something Christmas, and it's very, very casual, but it's a concert and they're singing classicals because it's accepted there. But here in Nigeria, you have to like properly plan, properly do the publicity, invite the people that you know that are interested in this type of music,
and
which is really hard. Yes, and can pay because it's not for free.
Yeah.
Do you get? But it won't be as expensive as it would be to watch our Afro artists sing, because it's not something that is accepted wholly
as much
here in Nigeria.
I know that some charge way higher. They charge a premium when it comes to classical music. If you want to get a classical singer, you most likely pay more because there's the whole ensemble and all of that. So it's quite interesting, the market you're in. But I want to get a bit personal with you quickly, because I know your life is not just about music, classical music. So what do you do when you're not? So what do you do by day? Or is this what you do by day and you do something by night?
Okay, so I'm actually a student of the University of Ibadan. Yes, I'm a student. So I'm a student every day. And the classical
You're not studying classics, are you?
No, I'm not.
What are you studying?
I'm studying, I'm in the Department of European Studies. Yes, we do history, languages, and cultures too.
Beautiful. So you have to blend school with your passion for music.
Yes.
Is that gelling well with the family?
Yes, actually. Yes. So everyone in my family sings.
There you go.
It just happens that I and my eldest brother are the ones taking music quite seriously.
Amazing. I love your story and I love the trajectory, but Peggy, you have to do something for us. I'm tempted to ask for a Pie Yesu or a line from one of your favorite classical, so just a line for us. Let
do you like Pie Yesu?
Yeah, Pie Yesu.
Okay.
Just one line.
Do I sit?
Do you want to? Yes, sit. Absolutely, sit. Or do you prefer standing?
Yes, I can.
Let's stand and do it.
Okay. All right. So when we're singing, we have to create a good posture, because we have to pitch.
Okay. So let's take the posture.
Okay, this is the posture. Legs
there you go.
apart, and hands have to be free.
So let's hear the line.
Okay. So
I'm not going to sing with you. Don't worry. I won't mess this up.
So just the beginning. All right. Pie Yesu, Pie Yesu, Pie Yesu, Pie Yesu, Quitolis peccata mundi, dona eis requiem, dona eis requiem.
Woo! Put your hands together for Peggy. I love the way you got into character. I mean, my crew had to join me to enjoy this one.
Thank you.
Peggy,
thank you.
Fantastic work you're doing. We've been speaking with Peggy Chilaka, an expressive classical singer, vocalist, and a student. Wish you the very best. Look forward to seeing you on the biggest stages.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for challenging me. I'm going to have to work on my soprano.
It's called good. They used to bar, right? Bar.
So my soprano is still in none rhymes.
Thank you, Peggy. See you soon.
Okay.
Let's
so
roll through the friends. Well, we're starting off with President Bola Tinubu literally saying "Rezam." I'm sure you've heard that term before on the streets. They say "Rezam, Rezam." So the president told the Senate, the National Assembly, the House of Reps, to raise the budget from 49 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira. So that's the Rezam I'm talking about. Why? The president said, well, take a look at this. FIRS making cool money, the customs making cool money, other government-owned enterprises making good money, so we can do 54 trillion.
Okay, we know the National Assembly may add to that, so let's be looking at 55, 56, and maybe 57.
Wow. Yeah. The first comment, there you have it. Realistic budget. It will be great if the increase focuses on health, technology, and education. So we'll see how the national, because we don't have the details now. We'll see how they're able to swing that in favor of these sectors, if you will.
Okay, who is the next person? This is coming from Ihoma says all the 6 regions Okay, that's not the street, by the way.
That's Atitebi.
Atitebi, yeah.
Femi.
Well, I have that one.
And Atitebi Femi says 54.2 trillion naira, that's roughly $34 billion. The budget for California alone is $322 billion. My people, the real issue is implementing and which critical sectors get what. Example, what's education, health, agriculture, and security at budget, and then Femi tags at budget NG. Well, that's the important part of the conversation.
Maybe we'll go to the next one before we begin to wrap up. By the way, I'm just doing some calculations. I think the president has traveled 5 times now,
This year already.
This year already. So if it's 5 times, I know he went to Abu Dhabi, Dar es Salaam, went to Ghana, now France, and the other places. I think one other one. So like the president travels once every week, balling.
Or every other week, as the case may be.
According to some cartoonists, for sustainability.
And what's curious is the fact that he's going to Paris first, and the meeting
he's in somewhere close
by. He's in Ethiopia, right? So he says a private meeting.
Private visit.
Yeah. So what's the private visit?
Maybe medicals, maybe just some rest and all of that. We don't know. The president goes to France. I think maybe his medical team or I don't know. There. Just like Buhari used to go to former President Muhammad Buhari used to go to London.
Relationship with France. So please let's
personal relationship.
cut the president some slack.
I'm saying the president.
France,
I'm saying the president travels every
Good. You giving me that
I'm just internalizing all of that on behalf of Nigerians. But just one more. We understand that
average of every week. That's right. What it is, yeah.
At this rate.
At this rate.
So we understand that the suspended traditional ruler of Orile for Oba Adesemi Ogunjobi has been remanded at the Laro Correctional Center in Ogun State. You may recall that video where an elderly man was being assaulted, being slapped, and it was a very messy situation. So that is the update. He's been remanded. That's the traditional ruler now in question, been remanded at the Laro Correctional Center in Ogun State after failing to meet his bail conditions. So.
And we have some comments. We can take 1 or 2, right, before we say our goodbyes. This one is from YBNL Mafia, and they're saying, wow, first time I hear a monarch being remanded. Kudos to Nigeria Police. I think the substance of the case is, the charge that has been leveled against the monarch who was seen in a viral video assaulting an elderly man. So he hasn't just been charged for nothing.
Wisdom says, interesting, no one should be above the law. And again, just before we go, a reminder that kudos to the Nigerian Senate and President Bola Tinubu. I must say kudos, because when they are not doing well, we criticize them. Those wrecks that have their jobs have been terminated. Yunus Hari and the rest, bye. That's what we want to see. You mess up, you leave the room.
I'll leave my kudos till the next general election and see which wrecks
at least
will be doing what
and
how that will impact on the next electioneering cycle.
Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzon. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
Yes, we'll be back again tomorrow. Remember to check for the difference between creamers and milk. I'm Bukola.
I feel bad.